guys, welcome to Clockwork Noodles for the last time, at least this year, for the case study of Vanitas. Before we get going, make sure you guys are subscribed because a whole new season is about to drop. And if you want to know what's coming on this channel in particular, make sure you check out the video that I have dropped last week. It is my top 3 anime of this season. Where did Vanitas place? Did he place? He may not even be on there. Who knows? Go check it out. Make sure you do. And in that video too, I tell you what is coming up next season. It's an insane season. I'm very excited to start breaking down new animes with you guys. Hopefully you'll be joining me on that journey. There is of course a Discord channel too. This allows you to stay notified whenever videos go up on my channel, and you can see notifications explaining why things are late. This video is 1 day late, but I am here now for the final episode of part 1. There is a second part, and you guys definitely alerted me to this, and I'm going to return your favour by telling you when the next COUR is dropping. January 2022, the continuation of this story. And I'm happy it continues because I need more. I think it's time to get going and look at the final episode. The jig is finally up on our fake date. The Hellfire Witch could not really keep it up for much longer. If you were trying to fake it and obviously Vanitas is trying to push you, you're going to crack eventually. It's clever. I really did actually enjoy just getting a bit of time just to spend with her because she's a very intriguing character in general, and I do still really like the artwork for her. And I started seeing cosplays of her already. I still want to cosplay Veronica at some point. I have a thing for cosplaying baddies or villains or anti-heroes, but they're kind of the more darker side, and I get that with Veronica. She definitely is a ball of power that I don't really want to mess with. But sadly, my worst fears are confirmed. The Hellfire Witch tells us that she was given permission to go on the date. This is a problem because I did predict that it was supposed to be a distraction. And the distraction is to keep Vanitas away from Noe, because right now, Roofium wants Noe, and he gets Noe in the end. And of course, this just means that Roofium really did know what he was doing. He sets it up, and there is that dawning on Vanitas when he freaks out because he knows deep down that something was set up on purpose, and I do think he suspects Roofium, but I don't also think he has enough information on Roofium yet. So he might suspect him, but it's one of those things where he hasn't really got anything viable to go with him and that worry. So him freaking out and then dashing off is more of a gut feeling, and I like the fact that it's dawns upon him. You can see his facial expression changes. Something which is really good with this anime in general is the art style, and it's a very expressive art style, and I've really enjoyed it. Noe does actually remember Vanitas. That was something I was a bit worried about. I was worried that if whatever happened would happen and he might not remember Vanitas, but he does. And it's more the second half of what I figured might happen. Roofium must have the ability to control people by, I guess there must be like an enzyme or something. Whenever he bites somebody, he can then get them to basically agree to anything. It's quite scary because I feel like what he now gets Noe to agree to is setting up the end. And obviously we opened on the fact that Noe tells us, I killed Vanitas with my own hands. And we already know the ending, and it's basically been given to us in episode 1. However, we couldn't connect the dots. We didn't have enough information to connect the dots on why it would happen. Key bit of information is the fact that he is at some point, he will obey Roofium no matter what. So whatever he says, kill Vanitas, he will do it at some point. A bit like Jujutsu Kaisen in a sense as well. Like at some point, even though in Jujutsu it's like 13 seconds he gets to take over the body, it's just going to take that one command, that one moment of him saying, obey me, pun for another anime this season as well. It feels like that is the setup for the end. And it definitely explains as well how the Hellfire Witch can't actually talk about the promise she made with Roofium and all that lot. So she's unable to even mention it. You can't tell anybody of this. You can't tell anybody about me or my evil doings or these type of things. Which does make Roofium actually quite the tricky villain to deal with because he's leaving no trail behind him. So he's a very clever villain, and I like that. He's definitely going to be built up to be something a bit more smarter that we're dealing with. John can't talk about it, so she can't say anything. And now Noe, he is pretty much shackled, and I love the fact that the power is like this black mass and it turns around his neck like a noose. He is now shackled to Lord Roofium, and it's sadly going to end. I can predict what that command is going to be. That command is going to be kill Vanitas, dispose of him, something like that, which is probably at least going to explain what happens at the end. We see him leaving Noe alive because, of course, he's going to be more useful to him like this. We do also get to note that the teacher is still a very big key interest of Roofium. Roofium tells us that the teacher obviously hates him, but it's going to be interesting to see what Roofium thinks about the teacher, because I don't think he hates him, but I think it's a very interesting dynamic I want to explore, which hopefully is explored in the second core. And of course, Noe has this close connection to Vanitas, which is what I think Roofium is banking on. Noe is now a ticking time bomb, but it does also make me feel a little better knowing that at least if Vanitas is killed by Noe, it's not going to be through Noe's actual choosing to kill him. It's not like he's decided, that's it, I'm killing you. It's going to be, his hand is going to be full. A few things are starting to make a little bit more sense now. Puzzle pieces are starting to slip in. The anime this week is really teasing me with these multiple Roofium scenes, and we know, of course, I loved Roofium until he was revealed to be the villain, and now it's complicated. It's just a complicated relationship between me and him. But my god, Top Hat, stop it. Stop it, anime. Bad anime. Bad anime. He is that scary kind of villain, which I think is the kind of villain that seems to apparently attract my attention. He's charming. He's very charming. He still has the decency to give up his cloak for Jun, and I like this, but it also makes him the super annoying kind of bad guy because he looks good, he's very charming, and he's also very smart. And I think this is something that is going to make him a bit more interesting to deal with. He's not going to be a villain who goes down easily, because at this point it's going to be very difficult to link anything to him because of that power of his, and because he's very high up. He's got a lot of reach for where he's sitting. The fog, I think, is a nice touch because we see Roofium and the Hellfire Witch disappearing into the night as well, which is quite nice. The fog is a very nice look because fog covers up details. If you're looking at it symbolically, fog is preventing you from seeing the clear picture. Right now, nobody can see the clear picture because of multiple things, obviously with Roofium covering his tracks, but there is a bigger plot right now going on under the scenes, and the fog is hiding it, which is great because we have a second core to explore a bit further. Roland is back, so we get to see Roland before we head out for a break. Roland is on his road to discovery, his road to truth. He is convinced pretty much that the history that he has learnt is perhaps not quite what it seems. But we do also learn from our interactions with Olivier that the church really does have some very serious repercussions for anybody who turns away from them. So they're definitely using some slightly underhanded tactics. And I am very impressed, I have to say. I'm very impressed that Roland sticks to his own guns, despite the threat of his own family. And he even has the balls to threaten back. Olivier's words as well in my head were only really confirming that Roland's suspicions would be correct. History may not be what it seems, and you've suddenly got people who are going to threaten your own family. Those people who are able and willing to threaten your family, if you perhaps want to dig deeper, they might not be as honest as you think. So I think this whole interaction, Roland is simply just having his suspicions even further confirmed. Let's talk about the setup for Core 2. Now, we are introduced to Gavorden, and I only know Gavorden because I know a band called Gavorden, and they're a local band in the area, so that's the only reason why I know how to say Gavorden. Very interested because this does seem to be the setup for Core 2. Obviously in beast and law form, and a cryptid, this is his famous cryptid. He is a wolf. He's not a wolf in this, but I love the fact as well that we do get a bit of storytelling. I love the colour popping on Vanitas with only that blue kind of shining through. Blue as well being the colour of calm, being quite a isolated, drawn back colour as well, which is Vanitas all over. But I'm going to wait till the end because he really does show it a little bit later on, a bit more of that drawn back and the closed off nature of his. But it's a great colour pop moment. But I do like the storytelling aspects with the different stories that come across. We're tying in this historical figure, this cryptid, into the vampire lore. So this is now a vampire. We're setting up another murder mystery. This is going to be our premise for next season. I love the fact that it takes us somewhere completely different. But we do get this slight build of tension now. And it's a very interesting audio cue we get with the strings starting to build up and sliding up the strings, which I really, really like. As Noe starts to really restrain himself and he has this inner monologue going on because he can smell Vanitas' blood all over him. We do get the green filter, however, it doesn't quite work. I'll give you guys the negative and the positive of the colour green. Negative is envy and jealousy. Could be jealousy, maybe, but I don't think Noe knows that he's been bitten by another vampire, so I'm not quite sure. He lusts after it. Lust is technically a red colour. The colour not quite fitting on the negative scale. Green scale as well, positives. It's the idea of hope and balance, nature, and the idea of being revitalised. So that it doesn't quite fit. We just get a nice green colour for some reason. So it's just one of those moments where the colour theory doesn't really hold up on that one. But Noe really is out of it. I love the fact as well that he tries to play it off as being quite cool. Like, oh, I'm just hungry. It's fine. It's very interesting to see that psychedelic nature, but it's also still cute. It's going crazy inside his head. It's all bright colours and whistles going off, but he's still really cute. It's also this Jekyll and Hyde type moment where he's conversing with his own self, talking himself out of it and trying to explain to himself, why am I feeling like this? Is it because I'm hungry? Nice transition. It allows us to transition into some memories where we start looking into perhaps a darker patch where he says that he drank the blood of a load of villagers. We don't really get too much on that, but it's a darker patch where we see the figures discussing the idea of bloodsucking. I really do like this little section here because it's really tense and I like the way they build it. And I do like the twist where Vanitas literally just shouts archivist at him, because obviously that is the ability that Noe has to read people's blood. That is the one thing that Vanitas really doesn't want to do. And this is what I think, in him trying to withdraw, because we do get a bit of space drawn here, he actually opens up in a little bit. He kind of gives away a little bit more than he's trying to let on. But it does create this big space between them as we see Vanitas actually threatening him. You know what, I will kill you. Don't do it. Vanitas is trying to pull back. With him doing that, those actions, it says more than he's realising it says. The symbolic moon being covered by fog. This means that there are secrets being hidden. Obviously, we can't see the full picture right now, and it means there's stuff going on behind the scenes. A full moon generally means that secrets are coming out, whilst if you can't see the moon at all and you've got fog in the way, something is being hidden. The truth is being hidden by something. A nice bit of symbology going on there. As we get the OP play for the final time, it's a good OP. It really did grow on me. I hear I think it's like the piano piece at the beginning. It's got a filter on it. Like it, I hear it, I go, oh, time for Vanitas. I like it. But we get the nice Vanitas montage as Noe starts to think, why does he want to drink his blood so much? And I love the composition. The composition of all is probably the best bit for this little sequence of Noe at slightly different angles. It's so crazy. It's not even Dutch angles. It's not that slightly off kilter, which shows you that something's not quite right. They're so odd. I believe it's meant to represent that Noe is trying to change his perspective. He's trying to view everything from every single angle to try and explain the way he feels, the way he is thinking, the way that he is really intrigued about Vanitas. You know, he's trying to picture a new angle, a new realization, a new perspective. And with him thinking all this through, he does eventually come to this new realization. We do get our awkward reuniting, with them reuniting once more, with him jumping through the window, and there's this awkward silence. Again, it's space. It's all about creating space between the characters, and we get to see it visually, because when they're walking down the street, there is a huge amount of space that we can physically see between them. It is great. It's also a nice goodbye to Paris for a bit, because we get our backdrop showing us all the different areas as the guys just walk through Paris without saying really a word to one another. But it's a goodbye. It looks like the next COUR takes place completely different from Paris, so we're not going back to Paris, so it's a nice way of saying goodbye Paris for now. And we're going to end on Noe's realisation, his desire to learn more. He did say right at the start that he finds Vanitas really intriguing. I do wonder if there's going to be something more there. Maybe further feelings, deeper feelings, perhaps. Maybe too early to say, but if it went that way, I wouldn't be shocked. Pets really do look like their owners. These two are... You can tell it's his cat. You can really tell it's his cat, and I love you, cat. I will see you again soon. I can't remember your name, but I love you, and I can't wait to see you again. Vanitas giving in, and I know it's an indirect moment, and then he kind of breaks the atmosphere and he says, actually, no, I pull back, and him going, you might be able to drink my blood, but indirectly from my coat. Now, this little jokey bit moment here, and the fact that we had the archivist bit, the bit mentioned earlier, this is all simply Vanitas trying to pull back, but he's also giving stuff away. Vanitas does not want anybody prying into his past. He wants to stay closed off. He is trying to keep that bit close to himself and personal, that more secretive, closed-off nature that he's having. And that's why the blue really fits Vanitas. The more I have learned about Vanitas, obviously, right at the start, I tried to do a colour breakdown with the guys, and blue was a bit of a 50-50, wasn't quite sure if it would fit him or not. Now that I know Vanitas, I know a bit more about him, blue is the perfect colour for Vanitas. It's a healing colour. Vanitas is kind of a doctor, but it's also the cold colour of being withdrawn, isolated, very difficult to approach, which again all fits for Vanitas. A very good colour for him. Even though he hasn't really said a great deal during this first COUR, I feel like I understand him a lot better, and me too also intrigued about Vanitas. Our next adventure coming to us, we're going into the next arc, presumably the Gavorden arc. We have a few new characters starting to be teased. So we have this pink-haired character here. Very interesting to see how they're going to play out and whether they're a good guy or they're a bad guy. Can't wait to see where that goes. A change in location. We are literally saying goodbye to Paris and our core number 1 as we move the story forward. Noé's vulnerable side starts to show. Obviously, he's tired and he lets it all out. Noé really fears being left alone, isolated, rejected. I think is the white colour in him, the more innocent and the more vulnerable side of him. The white that is used to represent Noé quite a bit. Noé's childhood was a very lonely one, and we've seen his childhood and we've seen a lot about Noé. So Noé is a character we have explored a fair bit. Him being scared of waking up and no one being there, I think is testament to the character itself, that he really does fear being all on his own. It shows us that he really does value any relationship that he has. We're ending on a very nice note. We're ending on a note where Vanitas and Noé, even though we've seen quite a bit of space, at the end, they're sat between a table. Noé is comfortable enough to fall asleep, and we have Vanitas promising, I will wake you up, it's fine. It's a fantastic end to the first core. The ED for the final time, I loved it. This ED really grew on me. I thought it was a great song. The lyrics perhaps meaning a little bit more now we have the first arc out of the way, especially the bit where it goes, I lose myself. Perhaps it has new meaning, perhaps we've got a bit of foreshadowing even in the ED. Sometimes EDs and OPs can tell you a lot more than you think if you just read the lyrics. Definitely worth checking out lyrics for some of the OPs and EDs that catch your attention. But we are teasing our next arc, our new threat. Gavorden is definitely a vampire. They definitely have the charlatan behind them. The story is definitely continuing. So let's go into my final thoughts for the first core. What is my ranking on this anime in particular out of 10? I am going for a 7.4. Now this is slightly lower than the My Anime List average, which is coming in just grazing below 8. I would like to see it hit 8. However, it's not an 8 in my books just yet. I have a feeling if Core 2 really does build, that could have the ability for me to kick 8, but we will see. What did I overall think? I thought the lore and the world building was perhaps one of the strongest points for this anime in particular. They took a lot of time to develop the lore. There's a lot of backstories, a lot of transitions. Transitions was very, very strong for this anime. We've had a lot of different characters mentioned and seen on the screen so far, and all of them feel at least a little bit explored, a little bit in depth. We've had a lot of information. Obviously, Roofium is starting to appear as our baddie, and even he has got my attention, not just because I think he's cute, guys, it's okay. We are building up one hell of a story. Why does the teacher hate him? What is his plans? There's a lot of interesting stuff with him. It's fascinating, and the fact that he's leaving him alive, it makes him an even more interesting character to follow. I like a complex villain. If you know me well enough, if you've been on this channel long enough, that a complex villain is really all I ask for. I want to feel bad for liking them. I want you to at times make me feel sympathetic, but then I want you to crush it in front of me. I thought the pacing on the anime was okay, perhaps not one of my best points. It slowed down and then it was slow for a bit and then it picks up really quickly and then it drops again. If I read it, it would probably be fine. There's times where it feels a little bit choppy. I love the styling. I think the styling is absolutely amazing. I think everything about it is great with the steampunk aspect, with the colours. I love the blues. I think the blues look great, the stained glass aspects. There's a lot of really nice screen grabs for me, especially when I'm doing videos for you guys and wanting to get some interesting screen grabs. This anime is easy to do that because there's a lot of gorgeous headshots, a lot of gorgeous lighting. I love lighting. I think lighting is absolutely fantastic. The story is really building up to be something very intriguing, and I now feel like I understand the world a bit better. The music is really, really good. Of course, it's got those carryovers from Pandora Hearts. I like the little Easter egg halfway through with the night rays all mentioned as well. That was good. I thought that was great. Overall, did really enjoy it. I did say in my big wrap-up video that I found this season to be dry. I found it a little bit boring at times as well. Vanitas was not one of those animes that was leading to those feelings, and I was very happy whenever Vanitas would come around to watch it. It's definitely an anime that I thoroughly enjoyed. I can't quite rank it an 8. It's not quite there, and it's a difficult one to explain. But I definitely think it is a strong candidate. You could probably put it at 7.5 if I'm feeling generous. It's somewhere in the middle. Like, it has been great. And even a 7 for me. A 7 is generally quite a good score. I want to see more. And I really did enjoy it. Definitely count on me for watching the second core. I can't wait for January. It's going to be great to see Vanitas and Noé returning to the screen. I want to know more about the world. I want to know more about this charlatan business because there's definitely a link. Is it down just to Roofium? Does it go spiral higher to the Queen? Who knows? What is the ultimate goal? What is he trying to achieve? Why did he get so angry when Noe was trying to go slap bang in the middle and take two sides? Is Roofium more like trying to have the vampires uprise and have these bloody wars again? Because there's a point where he mentions that all of his students died, except even though we see John as well, she does call him teacher or professor at the end. And we know she took part in those endless bloody wars. That's why she's got the arm and that's her weapon. Fueled the fire to believe that maybe his students, maybe he did actually lead a revolution. Maybe he was all in favour of the vampires killing the humans. And then obviously we have this truce take place and that's not what he wants. So perhaps maybe it's just down to him and those are his feelings and the Queen doesn't perhaps see his way and that's why she's sick and she hasn't been seen. The fact that I am thinking like this and theorising just shows the anime has done a fantastic job in getting it all in my head to start wondering and wanting more. So I've had a great experience this COUR. Thank you guys for tuning in each week. You guys have been great. Thank you so much. And I definitely hope I will see you guys next season. There's so much good stuff. See you soon, guys. Make sure you take care. Thank you so much for tuning in each week. Goodbye.